Sweat beads drip from the chin of my goalie mask on the plastic surface. My eyes quickly glance up at the scoreboard that is missing a few light bulbs. Still the clock spelled out our plight. Boston 3, Marauders 1. The more desperate number was the time left. 1 minute, 25 seconds. Hunched over, my mind raced about 100 road hockey games we played in the past. Did I maybe talk us up too much? Maybe we weren't big game hunters after all. Suddenly, a loud slap of my pads echoed across the facility. My best friend, John Kirk, his eyes displaying the inferno within. "Fuck it, it's showtime," he said. "Hold the fort, Ludsey." As he swaggered off, I glanced at the full bench of guys who I grew up with. The Moon Brothers, Captain Willie, the Strangler, Ozzy, Big D, Glenn Ernst, and Pat Egan, all close friends for a long, long time. What transpired in the next 85 seconds has been in the record books for almost 40 years.
There's a lot of fogginess, a lot of shady area of how we first met.
Well, actually, we started off on the wrong foot. Kirky and I were a few years younger than Willie and Don, and we had some troubles.
The story goes that when Willie and I first met Luds, we beat him up. Well, we didn't actually beat him up.
They were 3 years older than us, so we figured the odds weren't in our favor. But anyways, we figured we might as well be buddies.
Shortly after that, Willie became friends with John, and John was friends with Luds, and I was friends with Willie, and the next thing you know, we're playing street hockey.
We just used to play on the street day and night, just like all Canadian kids play ball hockey.
We played up to 5, switched up teams, whatever, but the games will last all day. I mean, everybody going for lunch, then we'd all come back out in the afternoon. This is on Saturdays. And it was basically balls to the wall. You just try to beat the other team.
We played on the road, cul-de-sac, crescents, behind bars, behind schools, everywhere. There's no referees, no rules, no scoreboard, no clock, no offsides, and you use the tennis ball.
The rules were pretty simple. You could score from the driveway. You couldn't score from the grass unless it hit somebody going to the net from the grass, and then that would be, I guess, ruled okay.
You used to see hundreds and hundreds of road hockey games.
Playing road hockey. And if you're lucky enough to be on Steve's team, you won. If you weren't lucky enough to be on Steve's team, there was always a rule violation, overtime, next goal wins.
We would play for 2-3 hours until everybody got tired after a while, and then you'd say, "Next goal wins."
Yeah, it was great. It was just, I'll tell you what, there was no fat kids back then either, man, because we were outside all the time. Our parents said, "Hey, you want a drink of water? There's a tap on the back of the house. Go suck on that."
But eventually, kids on different streets were making up names for their teams, and so we wanted to come up with a name. So we decided to use the name of the neighborhood, which was Markland Woods, and so we chose the name Markland. And coming up with a nickname, Marauders, just fit. I mean, for young kids, that's the kind of a image you want to portray. So we became the Markland Marauders.
Ludsey started going around to other streets and organizing the other teams for us to play.
Ludsey was the guy that made everything go. Ludsey was the guy from day one when we were kids. He was the one that got the games organized on Saturdays.
The doorbell rings, and I mean early. It's 7 o'clock, maybe. I think sometimes 6:30.
I was up at 6. I wasn't outside at 6. I was watching Agriculture USA, and then I think, Mr. Dress Up or something.
I was the guy that got all the games for the club. I got all the tilts. I would organize them and get teams like Thicket and Mulberry Bush and Silverthorne All-Stars.
Whose asses we kicked a lot of times, along with the Winsdale Warriors, a few other shit bums out there.
I think the first team we played was just down the street, Burnt Log team. I forget what they're called, the Burnt Log Thrashers or something.
We always played games on Burnt Log Crescent. Sometimes we play in a cul-de-sac just in case we thought there was going to be too much traffic.
Our home crescent was 4 Burnt Log Crescent. So we played all our games right in the front of John William Kirk's home.
Of course, when a bunch of friends get together, you develop nicknames. We were pretty creative about that. Steve Wilson became Willie, and Steve Ludzik became Ludsy, and John Kirk became Kirky, and Don Strang became Donnie.
I was known as the Big Machine, and John Kirk was known as the Little Machine. And we used to go out every morning, even though nobody believed it, every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And we'd take shots for an hour.
Hey, that's bullshit.
That's 100% true.
Unless they were dressed as fire hydrants, nobody was up at 6 o'clock with Steve Ludzik.
Only him and I know whether that's true or not.
We couldn't wait for Saturday to get there. After school, even if we didn't have a game, we'd be taking shots. We'd be doing everything. Like, that would be 4 of us, 10 of us, 2 of us, 8 of us, whatever. We always played. When they say play on, I don't know if that was a Scarborough thing or whatever, but where we were from, when you had a car coming down the road, you went car, everybody got out of the way, and then you went uncar.
So I think this one day we resisted. We said, we're not playing. That's it. We're not playing. And of course, Luds is doing everything he can to convince us because Luds just never takes no for an answer. I once said to Luds, you're a pretty stubborn guy, Luds. You're a real goer, and if there was a mountain to climb while everybody else is looking for the trail, you're going to go straight up the side. He grabbed his net and he headed down the street all by himself. And we sat there thinking, okay, he'll be back soon. So we stood there, sat there, waiting, and he didn't come back. And we thought, oh my God, maybe we should go see what happened to him.
Went and played one game by himself for a period, for God's sakes, until we got our heads out of our asses and came and played.
We get down there and there's a mass of people. There's had to be 6 kids on the other team, kids standing in the grass waiting to play. I think there was girls with pom-poms and water coolers and things like that. And the 3 of us come down, and Luds has got the ball and he's stick handling through this crowd, takes a shot at the net. And as he's running back down, we go, hey, Ludsy, what's the score? He says 2-1. We said, hey, that's not bad. You're only losing by 1. He goes, what losing? I'm winning.
Ludsy's temper was pretty extravagant. He was amazing. If you were lighting him up like a Christmas tree, it was not good for that net. And one net, he absolutely demolished. Actually, it ended the game. The game was done. He was so pissed off. He absolutely demolished this net, took it, and put it in the tree behind where we were taking shots. And that thing stayed there for about 2 years. It was like Christmas ornaments in this tree. It was hilarious. I can't even explain how funny it was to watch him absolutely destroy that.
One day we were about to play another street, and Ludsy had organized it as usual. And he came to the bunch, and he said, Willie Burger, you're now the captain. So I'm not sure how he came up with that.
The reason Willie got the captaincy was it was between him and a guy named James Doherty who really wanted to be the captain. And he was from the United States. He's a Canadian boy, captain that team.
I was a couple years older than Ludsy and Kirky, and Donnie was probably cleaning his room somewhere, so he probably wasn't around. But I was proud to be the captain of the Markland Marauders from that day forward.
We loved playing. It was a passion. It was like playing ball hockey was almost as much fun as playing hockey or lacrosse or whatever. It was just fun. And we had a great group of people in our area that we were able to do that with.
It is right in that era, right in between the 69 and 77 era that we became the Markland Marauders.
When you talk about the Markland Marauders, there's a gang of us. There's a group of us that are affiliated with it. Legendary players, figures, whatever. But the main guy on everything, Steve Ludzik.
Luds was obviously the driving force behind the team, though.
Lucky Luds, he was an unbelievable goalie. I don't think the word lucky was appropriate because it was more, he had skill.
There's another guy with skill.
Ludsy was in the pipes standing on his head a lot of times.
I always wondered how Lutz could play center on ice and yet be such a fantastic goalie on the streets. I was always amazed at that.
The competitiveness that Steve had on the ice, he took that onto the floor in ball hockey.
He'd be diving and contorting all over the place.
He was the one that intimidated, cajoled, infuriated.
You know, if he felt he needed to, wake the team up a little bit, you'd see him getting engaged with the other team, whether it was physically, verbally.
He had the can-do attitude.
We called him lucky, but he was just a skilled goaltender. You know what? Sometimes some of those saves that he made, you just knew that the ball hockey goalie gods were looking down on him. But it was mostly skill. It wasn't luck.
You talk about the Markland Marauders. You talk about one person who epitomizes everything that we were about. That's him. That's Ludsy.
John, I remember, John's such a lovable guy. I remember him, I always thought of him as sort of the emotional heart of the team.
He could always be counted on to find the fun thing or the fun aspect of whatever situation.
This guy wore his emotions on his sleeve. When he was angry, you knew it. When he was happy, which was most of the time, you knew it too.
There's nobody that I've seen come along that could play the total game as John Kirk.
I always played up front with the little machine, John Kirk. And I'm telling you, I don't care who saw us, but we were just magical together.
He could score, could play defense. He played 60 minutes, never got tired, and he was a powerhouse.
One of the impressive things about him, though, was just watching him on a break. You know, spring him with a pass and maybe a 2-on-1 or something. Just the way that guy could, run, just the way he legged it out down the playing surface.
Kirky had wild, exuberant celebrations anytime a Marauder scored, and he loved just jamming it right in the opposition's face.
I loved watching him play. He was fast and he was agile and obviously skilled.
The way we could deflect passes and put each on each other's stick. And after years and years and years of playing together, I just knew where Kirky was at all times.
But it was like business. His face was calm when he was playing. And he would just take the ball and spin and dipsy-doodle and take it down to the end and score a goal. I loved watching that.
And those were just magical games when Kirky and I had it going together.
The greatest natural athlete that I ever met. Steve Wilson, our captain.
Speaking of Willie, this guy's my brother.
I was probably known as kind of a rebel rouser. I always tried to play like Bobby Clark.
Ultimate leader. Not the biggest guy, not the strongest guy, not the fastest runner. Found a way to get things done.
He was a real athlete, but he had a combination of determination and energy that is probably second to none.
I had pretty good skill for a ball hockey player.
When we played ball hockey, he was a hockey player. He had skills.
Notice any big games we played, he always showed up in the tally sheet.
I just tried to play nasty and get in everybody's face all the time.
Well, he never, resisted telling you what he thought, what was on his mind. Probably got him in trouble with other members of other teams. But no, he was he could back it up.
There was a couple things for sure with Willie. He was going to score goals, he was going to cause trouble, and he's going to hurt somebody.
I had two jobs. One was to look after Lutz.
When I think of Donnie Strang, I think of consistent. Always there, reliable on defense. Did the golf shot, used to chop the ball if you're in trouble.
And 2 was the golf shot.
Donnie Strang was on defense.
Donnie was the defensive stalwart.
Don kind of had a quiet competence about him, you know. He played defense, he was stay at home. He was a stalwart, you know, when the ball was on his stick, you knew it was going to go where it needed to go.
Block shots, back when nobody was blocking shots. And he was a tough guy. When he played, when it was on the line, he was the hammer, not the nail.